Is research being done now that would lead to the ability to alter the genome of a person?
Gavin is better qualified to answer that, but I think my opinion is that the risks of doing that by interfering with how the rest of the genome functions in a complicated organism like a human are too great. But in other organisms, it might work.
Yeah, so there's a lot of research which comes under the umbrella of gene therapy, where the goal is if there's a faulty gene in somebody, can we replace that with a good copy of the gene, or just add a good copy of the gene without replacing the faulty copy?
But the genome is in every bodily cell, right? So what are you replacing?
So, for example, something like cystic fibrosis, the goal is to maybe have some kind of spray that you'd be able to inhale, and it would be able to affect, for instance, the lung epithelium, which are the cells that are defective, where you need that cystic fibrosis protein to work. But lots of these gene therapy trials have actually ended in disastrous results, where a gene has been inserted into somebody and it's ended up causing cancer in them. There was a famous clinical trial in France where patients ended up dying because of that.
But that doesn't necessarily stop the march of research, does it?
It does not. It does not. And many of these studies, they start out in animals. So, for example, they were able to cure dogs of haemophilia, but when they try and bring that into humans, they find that it doesn't work how they expected it to work based on those studies.
I know that a lot of people are studying the ethics of genome research, and I know you're involved in some of this, Professor Feldman. What are some of the most significant issues right now involving ethics?
Well, one of the things I think that the genome research of the last, say, 5 or 6 years has revealed is the lack of meaning, biological meaning, in the concept of race. And that we now have a concept of ancestry and continental ancestry, and that vast numbers of people on this planet have ancestries that reside in different continents. So do we say that somebody who has ancestors that come from Asia, Europe, and the Americas has a race of some type or other? And I've coined the term ancestry group, that I think should replace the term race for biologists, because so many people have ancestries that come from different places, and that has been revealed by the technology that has allowed us to explore how much variation there is across the whole of that 3 billion genome.
I think there's some possible political issues involved with this, because people might be concerned that this research would lead people to think that, well, if you have certain ancestry or certain race, that means you probably have certain other traits as well, and it's another way of categorizing people. That could be a bit of a hot potato.
I think that's right, but I think the research has shown that the typological kind of classification that you're talking about has not been borne out by the DNA variation that we've seen over the past 5 years.
Is there any risk that this genome knowledge could be misused, like we're opening up a can of worms that could have harmful consequences?
I think there is, and I think the rise of racism is a possibility, and I've advocated having a ready response team of scientists who should monitor such misuses and squash them before they get to be widely accepted.
What do you think the ultimate direction of this is? Like, are we going to learn all there is to know about the genome, and then what? We can create, perfect people, or people who are disease-free? I mean, where's this taking us?
It'll be a long time before we know all there is about the genome, especially when it comes to resistance to infectious diseases, which is one of the really great research areas for human genetics.
Well, I have more questions I could ask, but I'm getting the signal that we do have to wrap. I'd like to thank my 3 distinguished guests for being here: Gavin Sherlock, Jack Porter, and Marc Feldman. Thank you very much. We do have a surprise special guest to close the show with. Doug Engelbart is here, one of the leading Silicon Valley pioneers, inventor of the computer mouse, one of the country's leading scientists. In fact, this show and many other projects are to a large degree inspired by his work, and he's going to close the show with a few words. Doug, Take it away.
Hi, I'm Doug Engelbart. I've devoted my whole career to help mankind be able to solve its problems better. So thanks for watching and come join us.
I'm Molly McGee. I'm an ecofuturist, and I encourage you to embrace the future and use the tools that have been created to make it a sustainable and healthy future for everyone.